Welcome back to She Can, where women lead by example by telling their stories of how they got to where they are today, sharing their insights and experiences to support and guide others, because it's easier to be what you can see. And I'm very excited to be talking to Issy Vine. Hello, Issy. Welcome to She Can. You're an ex-police employee who has been in the news recently about your experiences working for the Met Police, reporting a fellow colleague for racism, sexism, and misogyny, and how the Metropolitan Police have failed to stamp out bad behavior. Issy, tell us more about yourself and your journey and how you got to where you are today, suing the Metropolitan Police for mishandling of this incident.
Well, thank you so much for having me, first of all. Lovely to see you. Yeah, my name's Issy. I was a call handler for about 5 years for the Metropolitan Police. In my sort of latter end of my career, I moved into dispatching with officers. So I was with the Met Police for about 5 years. Was really, really happy and proud to have got the job because the sort of recruitment process is quite draining. It's quite intense. There's a lot of information, and every other day you just think, oh, I'm not capable. This is just too hard. So when I actually got the job, I was really, really, really happy, really, really chuffed, really proud. I'm actually really excited to have like a meaningful, purposeful sort of career, because I'd just been sort of dancing around in sort of nightlife and hospitality. So to actually like fall into a career where I was actually helping people and able to sort of just give more of myself to people rather than just passing them a pint or a glass of wine. I was really, really happy. So first couple of years, they were fun, interesting. It was new. And in my second year, I experienced an awful incident with a colleague. Mentioned it within a shift comments to me that were absolutely appalling, misogynistic, sexist, racist, and then proceeded to follow my journey home after. And sort of since 23, when that happened, to just the end of 24, I started the journey of finding out what it actually is like to report wrongdoing in the police. They like to say that, and they like to encourage it and not pretend, but they like to put on a sort of theatrical show of please report wrongdoing, please do the right thing. But when you actually come to do that, I've realized that it's not a smooth sailing ride, and there are lots and lots of failures and cracks in the process. To the point where the Met had failed so badly, I've now taken them to a tribunal, and I've got 4 cases against them: whistleblowing detriment, disability discrimination, harassment based on sex, and failure to make reasonable adjustments, and constructive dismissal. And the hearing is, I put forward that tribunal last year, and the hearing is not scheduled till 2027, so quite a while to go. But it'll be an 8-day hearing. And in the meantime, since I've left the police, because the whole process was just too draining, and I'd been diagnosed with PTSD. So I left the police, and also I felt very constricted from my experience at the police and not being able to freely speak about it to anyone, because they like to, a lot of the time they say that they don't want you to speak out vocally because they don't want you to put the company into disrepute or lessen public confidence in the police, which I understand. But what I've learned now is that the only way to sort of get proper accountability is by exposing and causing sort of like public uproar. So now I've left, I can speak more freely and more, well, I can really sort of say anything, which is lovely. And I have been spending my last couple of weeks delving into all the legislation and the legal documents, and the legal guidelines and guidance on misconduct procedures
Yeah.
that police forces have to follow, and sort of working out where the cracks are, where the sort of loopholes are, and where they're just really failing society, and where I found out a lot of things in the legislation, a lot of remarks and the guidance that they have to consider. They're actually like keeping dodgy people in, which is so bizarre. So that's where I'm at now, and sort of just whilst I'm doing all that, just sort of campaigning and spreading it on my social media and just hoping to get as many people on board, because I don't think a lot of people, as much as they know there are problems in the police, I don't think I think it's easy just to see like terrible incidents with the police on the news and think, oh, the police are doing a really bad job, but no one sort of, I guess because they haven't experienced it like I have, but no one's going to take the time to sort of go through all the sort of paperwork and understand why misconduct procedures are so bad. So I'm just trying to like simply make awareness to sort of the normal everyday person so that they can sort of jump on board. And the more outrage, the more that the government will take it seriously,
Yeah.
and listen to my pleas for change. So
Yeah.
that's where I'm at.
Izzy, I'm so thankful you came forward, and I'm so thankful you contacted me, and I'm excited about recording this story because this is your story. It's a personal story, but it's also very universal. And we've spoken to many women who have had similar experiences in different institutions, and their drive in protecting their reputation is far greater than changing their culture. And instead of taking your experience and your insight now that you have on where the cracks are to fill these gaps and the cracks and to make this a better culture, they will try and silence you. And that is the experience of many women who've experienced similar things. If it's okay with you, Izzy, I would love for you to tell us exactly what happened. So this call handler that was your colleague, I believe, told a rape victim that she was a slut.
Well, yeah, so I'd never met this colleague before. I'd seen his face in passing, but because there's so many staff members, you don't really, unless you sort of sit next to someone every day, you don't really get to know everyone because there's so many employees.
Mm.
But yeah, he sat next to me and he was reading a online report from a rape victim, and he wasn't directly on the phone with them, but he was reading it, and he nudged me and said, have a look at this report. I was busy doing my own things, but I kind of squinted my eyes to sort of have a look at the screen to sort of roughly guess what it was. And I could see it was a sexual offence rape. And it was a female had been raped by a partner. And the colleague turned to me, put his hand over his mouth and said, she sounds like a bit of a slut.
Mm.
And I was just sort of so horrified, but so in shock that it's horrible because I even to this day I wish I could go back and say, like, in the immediate moment, why are you saying that? That's so horrible. Like, go away, this is awful. But I was so in shock and also half doing my own job. I sort of turned back to my screen and sort of carried on with my work and thought, oh my Lord, and sort of had to process it. And he went back to his. And then a couple of hours later, he had just taken a phone call from someone who'd just come to the country, and they were asking for some help with housing. And a lot of people, when they don't know which agencies to go to, it's kind of it makes sense. People just call the
Mm.
police because they
Mm.
think, well, the police will tell me where to go, or the
Mm.
police will know. So he'd spoken to this person and said, you need to speak to the local housing association. They'll help you with housing. And he got off the phone, and I could kind of hear, because we were in earshot, so I could kind of hear the gist of his call. And he nudged me and said, can I be unkind? And again, I'm busy in my work as well. So I was kind of like, what are you saying? And he got his phone out and typed on his notes app, why don't you just F off back to your own country?
Mm.
And at this point in my head, I was starting to think this is obviously maybe like an undercover, like, professional standards person that's like putting people in to do this to see if we're like standing up to people, or this is a joke, or because two comments are just, you don't know me. They're very horrible and strong comments. The most bizarre experience ever. And I tried to I had a tiny bit more courage this time. I kind of sort of steered instead of causing conflict, because you have to sit next to this person for about 12 hours. So I was very conscious of starting an argument. I tried to steer the conversation into, oh, well, a lot of times when people come to the country, they don't know which resources to go to, or like who can provide help. So a lot of people just call the police. And it's a shame that when they arrive to this country, there's not like a care package or just something that could say like, you need this, you bring this person, etc. And I think he could tell that I was kind of disgusted with what he said, because he sort of was like, oh, okay, I'm being a bit harsh. Okay, sorry, maybe I'm too mean. And it was very awkward. And he went back to his work, and I sort of turned my body the other way to sort of give that sort of body language vibe of, please don't interact with me again. And in my head the whole time, because this was about halfway through my shift, so probably had about 6 more hours to go. In my head the whole time, I'm just thinking, I have no idea how to report this. I don't know how to even start reporting this. I don't know if I should report it right now. I don't know if I should report it right at the end of my shift. I didn't know what to do. And also, because 999 calls are constantly coming in, and there is kind of a pressure from supervisors that you need to constantly take in the 999 calls. And if there's like a build-up of 999 calls, then we get in trouble. So you have to make sure that you're constantly on the ball. So I just had to take more calls and just get on with the shift. So a couple of hours later, and this was just, I don't know how to describe it. It was such an eerie feeling. And this next comment that he made collectively with the first comment he made about the rape victim, just made me feel so uncomfortable. But I was taking a call in the Southwest London area, and I had my maps up. You have a big screen with all your maps, and I had Southwest London, so you had Lambeth, Wandsworth, Merton, you had lots of boroughs, and including Clapham. And whilst I was on the phone talking to a victim, I believe it was like a theft or shoplifter, and they were updating me with someone running away. He was whispering into my other ear whilst I was on the phone call with a victim, oh, that's Sarah Everard's turf. Oh, Sarah Everard's turf. And it gave me such chills and shivers down my spine, because we had not spoken about corruption in the police. We'd not spoken about dodgy officers. The phone call I was taking was not related to rape, abduction, or kidnap. There was no context where you would even bring up Sarah Everard. It was also quite fresh then as well, in 23. And obviously I was on the phone to a victim as well, so highly unprofessional and just really careless in the way he said it. And collectively with the comment about rape victims as sluts, he obviously has this sort of hatred towards women. And to just mention Sarah Everard's turf into my ear whilst I was taking a call just made me feel really sick and really creeped out. So by that point, I think I only had a couple of hours left of the shift, and I was just thinking, right, okay, obviously I need to report this. I don't know how. I'm gonna research how to report this, talk to a supervisor, and find out what to do. So I finished my shift, and I thought, we both finished at the same time. So instead of both meeting at the front door, like when we're both on our way out, I hung back for about half an hour, 20 minutes to half an hour. And throughout the shift at the beginning, through small talk, he told me, he lives in a particular area and he gets one bus straight home. He wouldn't do any other journey. And that bus and that journey is completely opposite to mine. So when I finished, I thought, oh, well, at least I'm not going to bump into him on the way home. But unfortunately, when I left the building after staying for half an hour, I saw him waiting outside, and I just thought, oh, God, I just don't even want to say hello. I don't even want to say anything. And he was waiting on the opposite side of the road, and I was waiting on the other side to get my bus in the opposite direction, and my bus was arriving as soon as I came out. And I just thought, yes, like I can just jump on this bus and escape. And as I was jumping on the bus, I could hear banging on the bus as if someone was sort of banging to stop the bus, and I could hear hold the bus. And all of a sudden, he jumped on the bus, came and sat next to me, and I said to him, why are you jumping on this bus? You don't live in this direction. It doesn't make sense. Like, why would you go this way? And he said, I'll come your way tonight. And I just thought, like, this is I don't even know what I thought, to be honest. I kind of thought everything and nothing at the same time, like, because you can't assume what someone's capable of, but then you can't what's the word? How do you put it? You can't assume what someone's capable of. You can't, I didn't think straight away, oh my God, he's gonna do something absolutely terrible to me. But at the same time, I didn't think he might do nothing. So I was just really like, I don't know what to expect with this. It makes no sense. And instead of just getting his straight bus home, he would have to get like a bus and then two tubes and a train home, which would not make sense with his usual journey. But anyway, he got on one bus and one tube of mine, and then I was able to run off the tube and leave him on it. And when I jumped off the tube and he was still on it, I can't even describe the feeling. I honestly feel like I'd like nearly just missed, like had a near miss with something terrible. Like I just had this horrible gut feeling of like, I don't know, was he trying to come home with, like, trying to follow me all the way to my house? Was he trying to hang out with me so much that he would, I don't know, it kind of just felt like he was, if I'd have said, let's go home to my house or whatever, he would have been like, yes. And it almost felt as well that even if I didn't ask or whatnot, that he was just going to follow me home anyway to my doorstep. And but I had until I got off the tube. Obviously he couldn't. But anyway, so that was the crux of that day, and then just snowballed into an absolute Alice in Wonderland, just pile of nonsense from there, to be honest. But that was the main events.
Yeah, so you reported him, he was dismissed and then later reinstated as a call handler,
Yeah.
right? And that's when you felt this is enough and they obviously haven't taken appropriate action. Do you feel like they believed your story?
I asked a lot of times. When I first reported it, I said to the investigator, I'm conscious I don't have proof. I'm conscious I didn't record it, because you don't record things expecting people to say this kind of stuff. Do you believe me? And he said the investigator always believed me, and I was able to provide sort of like evidence to like boost my credibility, like messages I sent, or like, people I'd gone to at the time, people had witnessed me in a state. So I felt believed by my investigation officer. It was not until I'd actually met with the appeal decision maker who reinstated him, the first question I asked him was, do you believe me? Because it feels like you don't if you're reinstating him. And he even said, I do believe you, and it is proved what he's done, but I just don't think he deserves to be dismissed. So I do feel believed, but I feel like whether they believe you or not is not it's not relevant, because it's just if it's easy for them to, if it benefits the force, then like them believing in you doesn't matter. If it benefits the force to keep someone in, regardless of what they've done, they'll do it anyway, regardless of if what you're saying is the truth or not. So I did feel believed, but irrelevant, to be honest. And they made it pretty obvious.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I was thinking, and I needed you to say, Izzy, because it's often that we feel potentially heard and seen and believed, but actually it doesn't change the outcome at all.
Exactly.
Izzy, so this responsibility that they had to take, they in the end didn't take it, because actually nothing happened, right? This person got a slip on a wrist and got away with it. And so this poisoning of such a huge institution that in theory is there for us to have law and order has really not followed through on what they have to do in order to change a culture that we know is misogynistic. It's your story is not the only story. And so it's really in their responsibility, if they're serious to stamp out bad behavior, then they should dismiss these people. And they also have to start educating the male force and potentially the female force together, because we're always in things together. We live together as a society, and I don't think they're doing that, because these stories come out more and more and more. So Issy, I'm wondering, how do you want to now campaign going forwards? How do you want to lead with this story of yours?
Well, my main concern now is to simplify and expose the failures in legislation around police misconduct, because I mean, I'm not a lawyer, but reading legislation it kind of makes you sort of feel frazzled if you're not used to that terminology. So I've been researching and researching, and I'm trying to create content and put forward amendments to the authors of such legislation and guidance. But really, my main goal is to simplify all of this sort of legal nonsense that enables the police to do this, so that I can educate the wider public on the failures. Because I think it's only when you understand that the core policies and the core framework and guidance that the police act on, until you understand that actually that is what's failing the quality of the police force and the service, until you understand that, then you're never gonna understand the core reason. Because yes, you can have examples of police corrupt officers or police misconduct, and you can think, oh my gosh, that's dreadful, they need to leave the police. But until you understand that actually, even if you have a bad officer or a bad staff member, even if they have done something bad, it's the policies and it's the misconduct procedures that are failing the public from being protected by these individuals. So that's really my goal, to simplify and just educate, because until everyone knows and until everyone is livid by it, the government don't really want to listen, because it's a lot of effort. So that's really my goal at the moment.
Which is amazing, Issy, because you're leading with your story and you're using it to find solutions. And that's when things are really powerful. And that's what we need, because we are not in many of these institutions, or even society at large, that we need to change all these narratives. And in order to change, we need to find solutions. So someone who has the insights and experiences and then researches or gets into a place where you can bring solutions to the table, that's when things get really interesting. Issy, I'm wondering how you find the courage. You had a backlash, right? You had a lot of people, especially online, telling you not very nice things about you speaking out, ex-police officers, members of the public. How do you find the courage to take on such a massive institution?
It definitely is intimidating, especially as the police force obviously have the best of the best lawyers, best resources to try and take me down and try and silence me. But I kind of got to the point, and I saw so many failures in the sort of last 2 years of my career, that I personally just feel like it's just too shocking. And I don't want to be, I'm included in it as well, because I don't want to be in a society where, I could pop to the shops, need to call the police, and I can't live with myself if I know that I might be calling the police and having a call handler who actually doesn't like women or foreign people, or, I can't move. I personally can't move forward without doing as much as I can about what I've witnessed. And I was intimidated at first, and there were points where I was just so mentally drained by the whole thing that I just thought, oh, maybe I should just take a step back for my own sanity. But actually, I think I would be more, I drive myself to sort of mental unwellness if I just left it.
Mm,
I think I have to just follow through with this until I can't anymore.
yeah,
And, I think everyone is affected by it. It's not just me or, anyone at any moment could need to phone the police. And
yeah,
I feel like because we could all be affected by it, it's all of our duty to make sure that if we know that there are failures to talk about them. And no organization, no government body, no, it kind of sounds like I'm defying authority, but I'm not in a bad way. I'm not going to be intimidated by them just because they're a big body or they're government sponsored or whatnot, because at the end of the day, they're still made up of humans and I'm a human too. And I'm not going to be frightened or intimidated by it. Um, and it kind of is just more of a challenge for me. I want to be able to, I always have hated the fact that people can hide behind organizations and agencies and,
mm,
just that even things like Grenfell and awful in like failures by bodies and organizations. There's never any justice, there's never any accountability, and people can hide behind these big companies and corporations, and that's just not acceptable for me. And I think I'm just overly obsessed or overly passionate about all of this, and I'm not going to stop. And I will do whatever I can to protect myself and legally research, things to protect myself so I'm not, um, spoiling my own cause. But at the same time, I'm not going to be scared to speak out. No,
yeah.
no, no. Mhm.
Izzy, and I'm with you 100%. There is a lot of shouting we need to do to get people to feel accountable and change things. And I'm really at a point after interviewing 500 women for She Can that the louder we shout, the more we are going to change. And I really didn't set out to feel that at all. I
Yeah.
thought we should do this or harmoniously, and we should always strive for harmony and unity. And now I just think, yes, I am doing it to, in the really big picture, get
Mm,
more unity, fill the gaps, build the bridges, but really without shouting loud, we are never going to get there.
exactly.
So what do you feel are your main learnings, Izzy, since the last couple of years, since the incident and where you are now, where you're really trying to understand the law? Where are the loopholes? What are the things we need to change with the current systems in order for these big institutions to be more accountable and actually see these incidences as an opportunity for change rather than trying to squash them?
Well, what what I've learned is that there's a long, long way to go. There's a lot of work that needs to be done, and the one thing I have learned is that I think's been quite eye-opening is everything I'm doing to try and expose and highlight, failures and ways to make, misconduct procedures better to have a better quality force. I've learned that isn't always beneficial for the force itself. I've realized that police forces are self-serving. They're not
Mm,
serving of the public, even though that obviously is their role. Um, they are self-serving and they are centrally concerned with reputation, and their policies feed their central concern, which is their reputation. And I've learned that, even if I shout and shout and shout, which I still will do, I've learned that it is a very, very difficult battle, and it's probably going to take me a long, long time. But I've learned that I can't give up, because that's what organizations and that's what people that don't want change want you to do. They kind of will want you to sort of give up and not carry on fighting it. But I mean, I suppose that's the biggest learning curve that I've realized, is that I've joined the police because I want to help serve the public and protect the public. And then I've left the police realizing that the police serves and protects itself. So, I mean, apart from all the other sort of in between things that I've learned whilst researching all the law and legislation and stuff, I've just learned that this is a massive journey that I'm embarking on. It's probably going to drain a lot of energy out of me, but it's lucky I'm so passionate because I enjoy it, because I believe it's right. And I think everyone has a duty to make sure that, you speak up for what's right. I don't, but then I have also learned that as much as I'm very vocal and I've taken the step to leave the police and be, freely vocal about the problems, I do understand also that there are a lot of people that are still serving in the police that are scared to, and maybe feel intimidated or don't want to lose their job, they have families to support. And I do understand those people too, that it's not everyone is always in a position to do. Luckily, I'm 30. I don't have children. I don't have. It's not been easy leaving a career that I was sort of thought I was meant for, and the financial side of it. But I have less responsibility than a lot of people do. So I understand that a lot of people don't want to leave the police and stand up to what they're doing. But at the same time, I do believe innately we are all responsible to call that wrongdoing. And it's just so funny and ironic that that's what the police say, but then we're in the situation. So, yeah.
Izzy, and it also has to be said that, of course, there'll be a lot of great people working for the police, right? So
Exactly.
this is not about everybody in the police. This is about changing behavior and trying to hold big institutions accountable for when things go wrong, and take the sometimes difficult decisions to dismiss or do a sort of institution-wide education program, or all the things that need to be done, and do them properly, and use people who report people as an opportunity for change, as we said earlier. So I'm wondering, Izzy, if you had one message for our Prime Minister, Keir Starmer, what would you tell him?
So many things, but one message. Oh, there's so many things that I would want to say to him, but in relation to my experience and my story and what I'm trying to push is listen to the people that have worked in said organizations or companies or departments or areas of the land you govern. Listen to those people who are shouting and expressing concerns, because I always feel like it's the people who have done the job and shout about it that I never listen to, and it's always people who have never actually done a day's work in the job that are making the decisions about it. So I really feel like if I could say anything to Keir Starmer, would be listen to the people who are shouting, who have worked in the police, who have the experience. And also, I think there needs to be, I think the government need to make sure that I don't know how, and it's probably going to be really tricky, but it shouldn't be. But I think the government need to do more in protecting and making it more, not appealing, but more comfortable for people to feel like they can speak out when they work in public services. Because public services like the police and the NHS and the fire, within their policies, their own self-serving policies, you're not allowed to speak out vocally. But how are you ever going to hold... What's the point of a public service full of employees that can't publicly hold their own organization accountable, out loud? It just doesn't make sense. So I don't know. I would ask the government to really relook at public services being able to self-create their own policies.
Yeah.
Almost
self-regulate.
Yeah, it's not fair. I was always gently threatened with, if you post any more social media videos, then you might get dismissed for gross misconduct yourself. If you speak badly of us or lose trust in public confidence, then, we'll dismiss you. And I think it's so evil. It's really unfair that you're willing to And most of the time, when you've got to a point like mine, it's because you've gone down every avenue internally that you can, and you've screamed and
Mm,
you've pleaded and you've shouted within the organization, and no one's listened. So you
yeah.
feel like your only choice is to go to social media or the media or write to your local MP. So just, I don't know, maybe, oh, there's so much work they need to do, but I would make it just have a relook at the public services policies and
Yeah.
yeah.
Um, what are your plans and goals for the next years? I understand is you're in it for the long run, and I think that is invariably going to end up being a long journey. We have had, this type of behavior for thousands of years, and it's going to take time to change that and to make big institutions get to the point where they understand that they have to put more things into place to bring about change in their institutions. What plans and goals that are sort of achievable have you put for the next couple of years?
Next couple of years, I obviously through my campaigning of simplifying the current policies and law, educate the public, try and build some sort of reaction to those, and get a sort of following that are on board with the changes that I want to put forward. Um, Bring out a petition for government to relook at the police misconduct legislation, to relook at it, and all the amendments that I'll put forward. But really, I mean, it sounds too big, but I don't want to say that because nothing is ever too big. But I just want the law to change, and there are
Yeah.
so many cracks in the legislation that I could go on and on about. Those need to be changed or dismissed, deleted. I just want to change the law, and any Home Office guidance documents or any guidance documents that advise the police on misconduct, any problems in there, I want them deleted, gone, or changed or amended. And that's my goal for the next few years. And it's a big goal, but I'm going to do it.
Yeah, and we are so grateful for everyone holding a really big vision, because we all need to be more courageous in holding these big visions and then following the journey along, taking the small steps towards this big vision. Izzy, so what takeaways would you like our listeners to have from your story?
Big takeaway I want everyone to have, and from my social media, from this, from everything, is that don't feel intimidated going up against an organization. Don't feel like you have to do what they say because they're threatening you. Always seek external advice, because companies are self-serving, organizations are self-serving. They'll tell you things just to quieten or silence you. But never, always stand up to organizations. Always, that's the main thing that I'm trying to spread, because the more people that do, the more changes that can be brought about. If we're all just silent and let organizations just run riot with whatever they want to do and all these self-serving, policies, then we'll always be the losers. So I think, to every listener, just trust your gut. And also, what's the worst that could happen? Like, always, if you see wrongdoing, regardless whether that's your colleague, your company, your employer, just call it out. Call it out. There is, use me as an example. I've left my career. I'm now speaking out vocally, and I have never been happier within myself. And I would rather have that than stayed in a career just for the paycheck and the longevity. I would have rather left like I have and just been honest and truthful. And by doing that, you're helping everyone and yourself. And we all have a duty to tell the truth and just never feel intimidated. Stand up. Honestly, that's what I'm mainly trying to spread. If you see problems, stand up.
Izzy, I'm so grateful for you to come on She Can to tell your story. That is very powerful, and how one girl can have such a big vision and try and change things for the greater good, which we all should do more of. And for being a role model and giving permission to others to right wrongdoings and to fight for what they believe is right.
Yeah, definitely.